Hey, it's Soul with some War Within Alpha coverage. Today we're going to preview the gathering professions as in herbalism, mining, skinning, and fishing. Not all the details are going to be discussed, and I'm not going to have strategies ready until we're closer to launch. But by the end of this one, you're going to come to similar impressions that I have probably, that it's mostly the same, just with a few twists and updates to pay attention to. So if you don't mind, hit the like button, subscribe for more coverage, and catch me live in the mornings on Twitch. The primary gathering professions aren't going through any sort of revolution. You still gather, you skill up, you unlock specializations at 25, and then you spec according to your desired playstyle. So we'll cover herbalism first. There are 5 herbs, or at least there's 5 node types to collect in Kazalgar. Myco Bloom is the common herb that you'll find plenty of, and the other 4, Lure Drop, Orbind, Blessing Blossom, and Aerithor Spear, those are the uncommons that'll probably be worth a lot more gold. One new thing added in War Within to help with gathering and I guess price stability is mulch. It's a one-time use item that makes your next herb gather have a bonus to finesse. That's the thing that helps you gather more materials. Herbalists make these for themselves, and it only uses this Myco Bloom. In a way, this helps keep the consumption of this common herb kind of high, because eventually seasoned herbalists will use these constantly, so I guess in theory this should preserve some value in what's otherwise a pretty common herb. Just like in Dragonflight, herbs as well as ore will have special effects and drop extra materials. Sometimes these special effects will try to kill you, so watch out. Overloading is also returning to give a critical mass of materials and give buffs. In the coming weeks, I'll have a better understanding of which resources to focus on first, but for now let's just move on to specializations. There are 3 trees: Botany, Bountiful Harvest, and Overloading the Underground. The Botany tree is likely to be most people's first pick, as this is the one that offers mounted gathering at max skill, but that's not all. In the War Within, the dragon riding talent that gave vigor from picking up resources has been moved away from that and over to the Botany tree as its opening trait. So with this talent, gathering herbs will replenish 1 vigor. It's pretty straightforward and helpful for the mass farmer. I mentioned mulch earlier. It's actually a spec in this tree and it helps improve throughput. Seed planting is returning in this tree, but unlike in Dragonflight, you're directed to a specific place in the Hallowfall zone to plant seeds, with the hopes that specializing into seeds is at least a good way to support the gatherer who has less time on their hands. The Overload tree is nearly identical to Dragonflight's, with specializations towards each effect and lower cooldowns the more that you invest into it. One thing that's new is that when fully specced into the base talents, you get 2 charges of Overload. This works the same way with mining. Unfortunately, I couldn't fully test the special effects for either herbs or ore, so I'm going to save that for another time. The Bountiful Harvest tree is also very familiar, covering specializations in each of the 5 herbs. These will also help you harvest a 6th herb called a Null Lotus, which just sounds like it's going to be the rare and used in more special recipes. Refining is back for herbs, and at first glance it seems like it got worse, because while in Dragonflight you need 5 of an item to make the next rank up, but in the War Within you're going to need 10 of an item to refine it into 1 of the higher rank. Now I can't say for sure what this means until we have a better understanding of how many herbs we can collect on a regular basis, but refining might be more important here than it was in Dragonflight. That's because top-end crafters who want to mass craft, they are going to be interested in using the best materials possible, now that we know inspiration isn't going to be something that we can rely on anymore. There's no guarantees though, but we'll have to see how the economy responds. Under mining, we have 3 main ores. Bismuth, which is the common ore, then there's Acarite and Ironclaw, and Nullstones are a rare find in nodes as well. There are a lot of parallels here with herbalism, so I'm going to be very quick here. There's the overloading of ore nodes with all the snazzy special effects. Again, I couldn't test them all. There's mounted gathering and an opportunity to specialize in one of the ores for mass farming and refining, which still uses 5 ore, unlike herbalism's 10. At a glance, mining just has had far fewer changes compared to herbalism. Now let's move on to skinning. There are 2 types of hides, 1 type of chitin and 1 type of leather to gather. These can also be refined into higher qualities, where chitin and leather need 5 pieces and hides need 10 pieces to make 1 of the next highest rank. Pure skinners might get a hand from the sharpen your knife ability under tanning, and harvesting meat while skinning is being changed to a cooldown ability under a different specialization. Here's what most of you probably want to know though: lures, they're back, and speccing into them is just as accessible as it was before in Dragonflight, by going into luring and going down the path that allows you to summon and skin special mobs for special skins. As for whether it'll hold the same value remains to be seen, but as we learn more about recipes that use these resources, we'll get a better idea. Helping with these gathering professions are special bags that tailors can make. There's a bag for every primary profession, so dual gatherers can use one of each, and from the tooltip, it's still just a bag that can hold any type of item, and it's not like a limited reagent bag. Before we move on to fishing, I want to point out that at a glance, specializing is slightly more transparent and easier to understand than it was in Dragonflight. For example, with mining, in Dragonflight you needed to specialize across 2 branches to up general mining skill, whereas in The War Within, points that increase your skill in all types of mining are just located in this one spot, but there are separate specializations that provide bonuses to like rich deposits and seams as shown here, as well as investing more deeply into the unique ores. I think the idea here is to assure players that if they're going to specialize in a certain something, that they don't have to spec across multiple branches just to get started, but they'll naturally go in that direction once they finish plugging points into their first choice. I mentioned in an earlier video that specializations across all professions, not just gathering, appear to be a bit easier to understand. It's not to the point where the depth and the complexity are gone, but it's hopefully shaved away the confusion that many players suffered through Dragonflight. Alright, let's take a look at fishing, and here's another reminder that we're still in the alpha. My testing was a little limited, I hardly caught any fish, it was mostly junk actually, and some of the information that I'm sharing is kind of me connecting the dots and making some assumptions, but I think I'm on target. The first thing that we'll notice is that fishing has a max skill of level 300 again, lots more than the 100 skill from Dragonflight. Just like Dragonflight though, there's still no specialization, but it doesn't mean fishing didn't get a little bit more interesting this time around. So here's what's going on. From the testing I did, the fish that you pull up can be thrown back for a temporary buff, just like in the past, for additional perception and other buffs. Part of your fishing career will include this Algari Weaver line. It's an enchant that you as a fisherman can apply to your current fishing tool. The enchant can also be strengthened as well by finding Angler Thread and Seeker Thread, which will make this Weaver line more potent and able to up your fishing by 100 skill and 100 perception, so your fishing skill can potentially be at 400 out of 300 without any other external buffs or tools. What's really cool is that the Weaver line's power is shared across your warband, although don't get too excited. This has requirements not unlike the Cloak of Infinite Potential from the Mist of Pandaria remix. You want to check out these achievements that ask for 10 threads to be applied, and when they are, I'm thinking that those 10 threads will be applied to your other Algari Weaver lines across your warband. And of course, as you reach new milestones, this credit is shared again, meaning that characters in your warband that are new to fishing in the War Within will have a nice 100 point boost to get started with. Now, personally, I don't do fishing on more than one character, so for me the value isn't quite there, but hey, hard to complain. As your fishing progresses and you gain more knowledge and experience, you might want to take that skill to a new event, the Merildar Fishing Derby. It's likely similar to other derbies where you need to catch a certain number of fish in a quest and then turn it in before the event is over. Hopefully you don't have to actually win the tournament in order to get the mount that's attached to this achievement. That happens to be all we know so far, but what do you think? Big difference? Little difference? Is it kind of good or kind of meh? Let me know in a comment below. If you could, like this video if it was useful, subscribe for more coverage, and catch me live in the mornings on Twitch. See you next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.